Now that we have the Torah in proper context, let's see how Judaism uses Midrash, irrational interpretation of Deuteronomy 17:8-12 as their unauthorized heaven authority. Midrash interpretation ignores historical, textual, and language context. When an ancient Israelite heard this verse, they knew exactly where this commandment was coming from. And when the believer reads this verse in proper context, they also know exactly where this commandment was coming from.
Chapter 17. Suppose a case arises in a local court that is too hard for you to decide. For instance, whether someone is guilty of murder or only of manslaughter, or a difficult lawsuit, or a case involving different kinds of assault. Take such cases to the place the Lord your God will choose, where the Levitical priests and the judge on duty will hear the case and decide what to do. The decision they make at the place the Lord chooses will always stand. You must do exactly what they say. After they have interpreted the law and reached a verdict, the sentence they impose must be fully executed. Do not modify it in any way. Anyone arrogant enough to reject the verdict of the judge or of the priest who represents the Lord your God must be put to death. Such evil must be purged from Israel. Then everyone will hear about it and be afraid to act so arrogantly.
Verse 11 is where they pervert the scriptures for manipulation and intimidation when tested.
After they have interpreted the law and reached a verdict, the sentence they impose must be fully executed. Do not modify it in any way.
In the Midrash Pesikta Rabbati section 3 it says, "A person must not say, 'I will not keep the commandments of the elders,' because they are not from the Torah. The Creator says to a person, 'No, my son, rather all they decree upon you observe, as it is written, according to the instructions they teach you,' in Deuteronomy 17:8-11. Even I, the Creator of heavens and earth, must obey their decree." The ancient Pharisees uses this verse with their added oral law and taught Israel as if they have heaven authority from an unbroken chain of oral ordinations from Moses. But during the time of Yeshua, when he taught the written Torah and the prophets, the common people was amazed at his doctrine, for he has taught with one who had real authority.
Chapter 7. Anyone who listens to my teaching and obeys me is wise, like a person who builds a house on solid rock. Though the rain comes in torrents and the floodwaters rise and the winds beat against that house, it won't collapse because it is built on rock. But anyone who hears my teaching and ignores it is foolish, like a person who builds a house on sand. When the rains and floods come and the winds beat against that house, it will fall with a mighty crash. After Jesus finished speaking, the crowds were amazed at his teaching, for he taught as one who had real authority, quite unlike the teachers of religious law. The Gospel of Mark, chapter 1. Jesus and his companions went to the town of Capernaum, and every Sabbath day he went into the synagogue and taught the people. They were amazed at his teaching, for he taught as one who had real authority, quite unlike the teachers of religious law. A man possessed by an evil spirit was in the synagogue, and he began shouting,
"Why are you bothering us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One sent from God."
Jesus cut him short. "Be silent. Come out of the man." At that the evil spirit screamed and threw the man into a convulsion, but then he left him. Amazement gripped the audience, and they began to discuss what had happened.
"What sort of new teaching is this?"
They asked excitedly.
"It has such authority. Even evil spirits obey his orders."
The news of what he had done spread quickly through that entire area of Galilee.
During the time of Yeshua, the common people knew that the Moses authority that the Pharisees taught was powerless. Midrash Rabbati says, according to the instructions which they teach you. But in the Bible, the Torah says, after they interpret the Torah, New Living Translation, sentence of the Torah, King James, terms of the Torah, New American Standard. However, other Bibles does say, according to the instructions they give you. NIV, aka 9 Inspired Version, Instructions They Give You, Christian Standard Bible, Accept Their Verdict, Good News Translation. The ancient Pharisees used this doctrine so they could pervert their way to politically campaign their oral commandments, mixed with the already established written words of Moses for all Israel to obey, so far that the Creator has to obey them since the Torah is not in heaven. But in Judaism, the rabbis that claim they're following a heaven authority doctrine also use the verse, sentence of the law. But in rabbinic theology, that means their made-up oral law and the Torah.